Whoa, I'm live, and tonight we are going to paint some Battletech. We've got 8 figures that come with the standard box set. We got the Battlemaster, the Thunderbolt, the Catapult, the Wolverine, the Shadowhawk, the Griffin, the Commando, and the Locust. So this is, let's see if I can figure out which one is which here. So let's see, we've got, so these are plastic miniatures that come straight from the box. I painted them black so far. That is the extent of what we've done. We've done priming basically. Is this the right guy? No, that's not that guy. It's probably good for me to keep these guys in order of who they are. It might be a little hard to see. Let's see. Who's who in the zoo here? Yeah, I think not that guy. Yeah, I think we had that right first time. So we're going to, well, let's do process of elimination. This is definitely the Thunderbolt. Yes, because there's the overhead cannon thing. There's a cockpit on the left side. That's definitely Thunderbolt. So it's good to keep that on that card. Catapult's pretty easy. That's definitely this guy. Now the cool part is these are all just metal mechs, so they should be pretty easy to paint. Yeah, I think that's that guy for sure. That's Wolverine. We'll see when we start putting prime on these guys. Is this my guy here? Nope. It's this guy. Yeah, nope, it's not that guy. It's so funny how these guys are all... Maybe I should wait till I paint them so I can know what which one guy is which guy. They'll come out a lot better when they when we do what I call the two-tone priming, and that's what we're going to do. So we primed them already. So first step of our two-tone priming on these figures is we're going to put a gray. So what we want to do is every figure should have a shadow and a mid-tone and a highlight. So this is the shadow, this black primer that we got on here. And we're going to dry brush on a gray, and then we're going to dry brush on a white for the highlight. So this is my standard two-tone method. It pretty much works for everything, including these metal dudes. So you guys get to see the process from the beginning. The only thing you haven't seen is me paint them black, but the painting of the black is a pain in the ass, so better to have that done already. All right, so first step is I like to get a glove. So I got gloves here because I don't want to get paint on my hands. And let's see. Hey, Jerry is here. Yes, Jerry wants to see how to paint these mechs. I'm going to show you how. So Jerry, just so you know, what we've done so far is I use this Abaddon Black from Citadel. This is the base that I use to pretty much prime any plastic miniature. If the miniature is resin, I'll use something else, but normally any plastic miniature, I'll just prime with this Abaddon Black. It's really great. It's a base coat. It has a nice black to it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this layer paint called Administrative Gray. It's basically what I'm going to use for my mid-tone. It's a gray color, and we're gonna dry brush it. Oh, Jerry's already asking questions. Did you paint them black with spray brush or airbrush? So this is just black brushed. So what I use is these eyebrow brushes. You can get them in any CVS or Walgreens or whatever you want. They're mainly for girls to put makeup on their eyebrows, I guess. Eyebrow brushes, eyeshadow brushes, but they're really great for they're really great for painting big things. And then also this is what I'm going to use for dry brushing. But yeah, I just took the Abaddon Black and I painted the black right on him, just like this. I normally can't do spray paint because I'm in a 1-bedroom apartment and I don't want to kill myself. So this is why I just paint black. You just paint black right on here like this with any big old brush. You just take that Abaddon black and you paint it, and then it's going to look like this. It dries pretty quick, but it still takes a little while to dry. You definitely want this stuff pretty well dry before you start doing the dry brushing, because when you dry brush, you're going to be kind of scraping on it, and if it's still even a little bit wet, it's going to smear and it's not going to give you the effect that you want. And in fact, I have some new, this is what I get from the Dwayne Reed. It's called Eco Tools Clean Planet something or other. So we'll pop this out when we do some of the other dry brushing, but I have a couple here that are still pretty good, so this is what we're going to do. So here is the trick to dry brushing. What you're going to do is you're going to take a paper towel. I've just taken this and folded it in some quarters. You're going to take your administrative gray. This is your pretty much any gray acrylic paint will be fine. And shake it up real good. And you're going to take a little bit of this paint, put it on the brush, and you're going to just kind of wipe it off the brush, so that way the paint will go into the into the bristles, but it's not actually giving out paint. You can kind of even see it barely. This is the consistency you want. You don't want it to glop on. You just want it to have a barely kind of because you just want the tips of the bristles to scrape along the model. So that's what we're looking for. Now, also, you'll see I do this kind of back and forth motion when I wipe it on the napkin, and that's it. Hey, Red Hood is here. All right, so here we go. So I'll just take this guy, for instance, and you know what? I'm going to put on my cheater glasses because I'm old. All right, and here we go. So what you're going to do is basically you want to go against any grain that you can have. So you can see that some of these panels go up and down. So I'm going to want to kind of go left, right with the dry brushing. But in my general sense, I always just do a circular motion, because then I'm going to basically, if there's something up and down, it's going to hit left and right. If it's something left and right, it's going to hit up and down. And I just want to. And I also do what's called the car wash method, which is I kind of start the swirling motion and then move the model into it to make sure that that I'm not putting on too much. Because what you really just want to do is you want to get the model to get this kind of highlight on it. Again, you want a mid-tone, so you want to stay away from the crevices as much as you can. That's why I do a circular motion. If I do a circular motion like this, then it doesn't get into the crevices, and the crevices remain dark. And then the panels of the mech. See, just like that, in 5 seconds, you've got a gray tone. So we're going to do that to all these figures real quick. All right. And it says, you still have Battletech RPG. Yeah, this is great. Actually, they have a new version, and the new version is exactly the old rules. So it's definitely, if you know the old way, it's super easy to get back into it. And these models are they're pretty cool. You can see I'm just making like a circular motion. The key is having the right amount of paint on the brush. You'll know if you have too much paint because it'll be clopped on. You don't want it to be cloppy. And you're looking now just for areas that are too dark that you want to lighten up. Then you're just going to focus on those areas. Again, I try to keep a circular motion with the brush. Circle, circle, circle. Do 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 do. And now that you have some highlight, you can actually see what the heck the model is. So we can probably match it to the cards a little easier. You can see like down here at the feet, this brush is so big that sometimes it's not getting in there. So I kind of just dab it in there to make sure that it's getting some paint. Again, I don't want to dab it too far in because then I'm going to lose the black in the crevices. I definitely want to keep the black in the crevices. All right, and this is actually just the mid-tone, so you're not looking to have it too, it's not too bright yet. This is kind of just the mid-level. You just want to make sure you're looking for places that are totally black. You don't want it to be totally black. You want it to be kind of heightened, but we're going to definitely lighten the whole thing up once we get to the highlight section. Jerry says already 100 times cooler than what I could do. I'll send pics when I do some painting. If you wouldn't mind giving feedback. Yeah, no problem. Again, this is not any rocket science. I'm not some genius. This is why I like dry brushing too. A lot of people, what they'll do, the standard Games Workshop way of doing this stuff is to paint the whole thing a solid color and then use washes. And washes are basically like watered down paints that will seep into the crevices to give you the shadows. But I like to do the shadows first and then dry brush the highlights, because then it's just less work for me, because when you do a wash, you then have to go and repaint all the midtones. I don't want to have to repaint all the midtones. I'm all about speed. I want to do it as fast as I can. And again, with 8 mechs, my guess is we can probably get all 8 of these done in an hour. Because the beauty about mechs is there's no there's no organic stuff you have to worry about. So metal is really just throwing on some color and some metallic paint, and you're good to go. All right, I'm just gonna reshake this up, because the beauty about these is that you can paint right. The Citadel, why I love them is that I don't like having a paint palette or anything like that. So they have these little pots, and you can grab the paint right out of the pot. Again, it's just me being lazy, but lazy wins. So you'll kind of notice that the way I attack the model, again, I'm trying to find angles that I can just hit the tops. If you think about the model like hills and valleys, I want only this gray to go on the hills and not in the valleys. Because I want the black to remain in those crevices, right? So, Redhead says, do I have a model of a mad cat? Well, let me see. We've got this. These are the 8 that come with. I just have the standard set here, and it looks like we've got Shadowhawk, Griffin, Commando, Locust, Battlemaster, Wolverine, Catapult, and Thunderbolt. So that's what we're working with today. All right. So you can see that I put a little too much on, and I just wanted to show you what it looks like when you glop it on too much. But that's okay. If you end up doing that, and a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just take my finger and kind of smear it off. But yeah, the beauty about these paints, especially the acrylic paints, is that even if you screw something up, you can always fix it super easy, because guess what? If I put too much on, I can always apply a wash to get the shadows back. Or if I put too much shadow, I can always just do another dry brush to get the highlights back. So there's no end of the world to any of this stuff. Hey, Crickstar's here. Jerry says, I'm painting the catapult now. Oh, this is thanks for helping me figure out which is which. All right, yeah, so, oh no, that was old. This is the catapult. Yep. So this is the catapult, and we just painted. Got it. Okay, so this is the Shadow Hawk I just painted. It's a lot more clear once you get some of this stuff on it, for sure. All right, and then we got the, let's see, which one is this? Yeah, this is the Battlemaster. Cool, this Battlemaster is cool because he's got a cool blue color to it. I'll show you how to do that. It's pretty easy. Yeah, what's this guy? This guy must be the Wolverine then, right? Yes, no, nope. I feel so inadequate in my Battletech lore. Is this the Griffin? Yeah, this is probably, nope. Oh, this is, I don't know what this is. Yeah, maybe it's a Griffin. We'll find out through a process of elimination. All right. Yeah, originally I'm doing this show because of Jerry. Jerry said he wanted to know how to paint them, so I'm going to show him how I paint them. Oh no, Crickstar has some sickness. Yeah, I haven't had the best either. I just had 2 wisdom teeth pulled out. Man, it's no fun. I'm still definitely in some pain, but I'm here for you guys, even though I'm in pain with my teeth. Hopefully this will help make everybody feel better. It definitely helps me not think about the pain by painting this stuff. All right. So you can see I do it kind of quick, but it's really just, again, circular motions, not too much paint on the brush, and you get what you need. And I kind of reapply paint for every model just so I don't run out of paint, because if you run out in the middle, then it kind of kills your mojo. You want to definitely try to do it in one shot if you can. All right, all right, all right. All right, and there you have it. So this is gray tone for this guy. Just one more guy to gray tone. And then I have a surprise for everybody too, because I'm actually going to be gray toning one more thing that's not Battletech. So this show is really about my 2 toning these guys. When you airbrush this stuff, they call it zenithal priming, when you kind of give it a black and then you give it gray, and then the white you kind of just do from the top, like the zenith of the sun, and it makes a really cool effect. I tend to do that same effect, but I kind of do it all over. That's why I call it just 2-tone priming, because it's going to give us both the mid-tone and the highlight all over. You definitely want that to be all over. All right, so now you guys may have saw that I did the Planet Apocalypse game last week. Well, I got this big chunky guy in the mail today. Whoa! This is a giant Cthulhu as a monster for Planet Apocalypse. So I might try to do some on this guy. And I've got this ginormous brush I wanted to try to see if this will work. So this may be a cool experiment or maybe a dumb experiment. We're going to find out. But basically the process is the same. We just want to get some gray on this bad boy. Put it on this giant brush. Let's see what we got. motion. He's so big. The trick with this kind of thing too is if it doesn't have a lot of texture, you're kind of gonna want to do more of a circular motion, because I think it's in short, the miniatures can paint themselves if they have really cool textures. So this one's got some cool textures, but also has a bunch of smooth areas. So we just want to make sure that we don't put too much gloppy on the smooth areas, and just make sure that the textures get highlighted. But this guy he took me forever to prime because he's ginormous. But the cool part about priming black is that you can see there's just sitting here you're not going to really get at, but I don't mind because it's shadow, it's black, so it should be in shadow, right? So I don't know, can you guys see that okay? Because this guy's so huge, I don't know how to get him in the screen, but you can kind of see. Crickstar says, I've tried Zenithal, but I think my coats are too thick to find press per use of it. I couldn't tell a Zenithal from a non-Zenithal. Yeah, you need to do this two-tone method. It's just so much easier. You don't have to deal with dry airbrushes. You don't have to mess with anything. And then also you can control, what you actually want to highlight. Because when you start doing colors on this stuff, you, whatever you want to be a brighter color, you just put a brighter highlight on. Right? I can't wait to play Planet Apocalypse with this thing because, I should have got the little minis out so you can see them, because compared to this guy, they're literally like this big probably. It's so awesome. All right. Just a little bit more gray on this guy, and then we're on to the highlights. See, it's the same thing. Even though this is a bigger brush, it's the same motion, circular motion, because then you get, the recesses still stay black, but these things on top are going to get the gray. And then once you have kind of a great coat down, then I'm really just looking for places that are like totally black that I might have missed that I want to put some gray on. So you kind of want to just examine the model, see what else you can do. You can definitely do too much gray though, and then you end up making it a single color, which is not bad if you want it to be a much brighter model, because that's the only problem with this two-tone method, is that if you put color on it, the color is going to be an intensity like 2 grades lower than what it would normally be. So, hey, Mike Forner's here. Yes, this monster mini is ridiculous, right? It's cool. So this is a new demon you can use for Planet Apocalypse. So I might end up doing that sometime soon. But I just wanted to make sure. I never used a dry brush this big before, so I just wanted to make, and I've never painted a mini this big before, so I guess you really can't call it a mini anymore. All right, so I think that's it for this guy's gray. Just bring that up a little bit. That's it. All right, cool. So let me put him around to the side. We're done with gray for now. Put that in the water. All right. I think I'm now going to open up one of these new brushes. So these are the brushes I use for dry brushing. They're cheaper than Games Workshop ones or whatever because they're really just makeup brushes. You can get these at any Dwayne Reed or CVS or drugstore you can think of. All right, and normally they come in kind of two different sizes, a bigger one and a smaller one. We're going to use this bigger one. And now I'm going to get a new towel. This is my towel to dry brush gray, but we're not going to do gray anymore. So we're going to get some new paper towel. Whoa, paper towel. All right, and we are going to we're going to go to our standard wraith bone base color. This is what I use. This is what I used to use to prime figures. It's great base coat for contrast paints, but I found that I just like the shadows to be darker, and contrast paints kind of give you son of a bitch. Contrast paints will give you shadows of the color, but I like the shadow to be black, so that's why I definitely. All right, let's zoom this camera in without it going crazy on me. All right, cool. So here's our dudes. So we're going to put now a highlight on this thing. So this is our midtone. So we got a shadow, which was black, midtone, which is our gray, and now we're going to do this wraith bone base, which is going to be our highlight. All right. And this one might be catched. I might need to get a new one. Let's open a new bottle. I tend to use, I get a lot of this administratum gray and this wraith bone because they're so versatile. So basically your Abaddon black and your gray and this wraith bone are pretty much all you need to paint any miniature, those three. And then you're just putting color on top. Oh, Red Hood, he says he missed the beginning. So this is the reprint. I guess they call this version 9. It's called Battletech, a game of armored combat. So this is everything. It comes with the base rules, campaign module, cards for 8 minis and 8 pilots. And we'll see if we can get Diana to play it. I think she's going to be confused.
I hear you talking.
All right. Yeah, I'm with you, Jerry. I hate airbrushing because it's just so. First off, it always looks dumber than it looks too clean to me, and I like, especially when you get doing mechs and things, you want these things to look dirty and used. The other thing is, yeah, you need a ventilation system to use that stuff. I mean, if I had some ginormous mansion, I might be able to think about it, but I'm not. I don't need that. All right, so here we go. We're going to grab some wraith bone on the brush. We're going to dry it off. And we'll give it a little test to see that I don't have too much paint on the brush. And I don't. All right, we're just going to, again, do our circular motion, but this time it's brightening it up. This is the highlight. And now, the key on this is that the I'm doing a general highlight here, which is basically just catching the edges, but then I'm going to highlight a little bit more on the actual panels that need color, because this looks really cool by itself right now, but the minute I put color on this, the color is going to be muted because there's so much darkness in the shadows. So we're definitely going to brighten these up where they have color. Where there are guns and anything that I know is going to be metal, I don't really care so much because we're going to put a metal on top of it. All right, so this is this guy. Who do we think this guy is? I think this guy might be the Wolverine. Yes. I don't know. These pictures don't exactly match the models. It might be this guy. I think it's this guy. Yeah, the Battlemaster. Yep. That looks a little better, right? Yeah, so this guy is the Battlemaster. Yep, so he's going to be kind of blue all over. So this guy definitely needs to be more highlights on the panels, because we're going to put blue on that. So I'm just gonna... Now I'm doing circular motions, but I'm kind of, it's almost like brushing your teeth. Imagine every little panel on this thing is an individual tooth. You just want to brighten up these areas. These little arms are going to be blue too. But the gun, I can leave that dark because that's going to end up getting metal on it. All right, cool. I think that's done. Battlemaster is two-tone primed. We're going to put him back here for safekeeping. Let's look at this little guy. This is the Locust. He is also going to sort of have a color all over, so I might as well just give him a nice light brush. Yeah, Red Hood, actually, I was going to get it on Miniature Market too, but it was actually cheaper on Amazon, and it delivered in like a day. So you should look at Amazon. That's where I got it. All right. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm going a little bit heavier on this one. Just a little bit. Because I think it's going to be like a green, camo green color. That should look pretty cool. All right, I think he's done. So you can see the two-tone priming, it's a little more work up front, but at the end of the day, it's super easy to add color after you have this part right, because when you use the contrast colors, the color just goes on top of whatever you're, what you're really doing is you're creating the gradient of shadow and light on this guy. So as long as you get that gradient right, whatever color you put on top, it's going to look cool. Piece of cake. There's our commando. And again, wherever I think I'm going to actually have color, like this guy actually looks like he's got white, which is a pain in my ass, but wherever you think you're going to want brighter color, that's where you're going to want to actually, so this may actually look more white than you would want it, but as soon as we put color on that, again, the color is going to be muted. So I always go a little bit lighter than I want the end result to be, so that way I'm ensured that the color will be right enough. This model's a little tricky because this nose intersects with the thing, and so you just want to be careful that you don't glop it on too much. I do love doing robots though, because you can crank them out pretty quick because there's really not a lot to them. And actually, what I used to do for robots, I used to just prime it black and then just dry brush the metal right on top, the metal paint right on top, because it's you could do that. My trouble is that they come out really dark when you do it that way. So I find, again, it's still better to do this two-tone method and then selectively pick where you want to put the metal. All right, piece of cake, catapult done. Let's see who's left. All right, I think this is definitely the Thunderbolt. Yes, yes. Collectively figure that out in 2 seconds once it gets the highlight on it. Okay, I don't know if you can notice, but I know that I put too much paint on this brush. So what I do is, again, I do the car wash. I have this thing going, and I'm just moving the model into it just to make sure that there's not too much. And that's just something that you will get used to doing when you do dry brushing. But don't be afraid to just get in there and start doing it. But you'll get a feel for it once you, and again, as long as you keep these circular motions, there's not a lot of damage that you can do. As long as the brush doesn't have too much paint on it and you're doing circular motions, you're going to preserve those crevices. Because that's the whole point. You want the crevices to still be black or dark. You want the highlight to be highlighted. All right, that is the Thunderbolt. With Amazon Crickstar, Amazon is normally free shipping, but a lot of times people will include the shipping cost into the Amazon price and then call it free shipping. So that's why, like, if you can get it on Amazon, it's almost always worth it, because you get free shipping. But right, yeah, I think this is the Shadow Hawk. But a lot of times you'll get, it's funny, like some of the online retailers like Miniature Market, they'll give it to you over 30% off, but when you add shipping, it ends up being almost the same. So if you can get it plus shipping on an online retailer cheaper than Amazon, I'll almost always do Amazon. But I mean, I'll always try to not do Amazon if I can help it. But a lot of times you just can't beat Amazon. Yeah, I think because in America we have a pretty good shipping distribution system. You guys have a giant desert. I think half your country's desert or something, right? So like, it's hard. I imagine it's hard to get from like one side of the country to the other without having to charge somebody. All right, yeah, I think this is the Wolverine because that little helmet thing, yeah, which means that is the Griffin. Weird. I think the picture for the Griffin is different than the model, which may screw with us. You can see already that I have too much paint on here. You see how it's too much, so we gotta. I can tell you, I mean, I don't know, in America, it's worth it to have the Prime. The Prime only costs like $50 a year or something. And you not only get the free shipping, you get, the Prime Video is actually pretty good. They have a lot of cool stuff on Prime Video. Here in New York, we get Prime groceries delivered and things. It's definitely I mean, for $50 a year, it definitely is worth it. Right, there's that guy. The Wolverine! All right, which means by process of elimination, this has to be the Griffin. This model looks totally different, though. All right, let's see what we got. All right. I may have gone a little heavy-handed on that one, but I still have my shadows, so. All right, cool. That is everybody there. Do we want to try the big boy? Look at this guy. Yeah, and just keep those circular motions. And we get a really nice texture. I'm not using the bigger brush just because I have more control with the smaller brush. And again, I'm going to paint this guy greenish for Cthulhu, so it's cool if you go a little bit heavier on the highlights. You can really see the I don't know if you can tell, but I really have since I know there's less paint on the brush, I'm really kind of digging in with the brush to do that. So Quickstar, yeah, the big boy is my Cthulhu Death Might Die one. And actually that's one of the reasons I got this guy, because I'm going to paint the big one the same way as this one. So this will be a good test of colors, because I just want to make sure that the green color, I mean, there's a particular green that you definitely want for Cthulhu. I just got some new green contrast paints that I want to try, that we're going to try on this guy and see how it works. But whatever I do on this guy should exactly be the same result for the big guys. So then at least I'll be happy with the colors, and then it's just about getting it done. But I can already tell with this guy, who is basically not even a quarter a size of the big guy, it's going to take a while to paint that guy. I think I'm just going to prime this guy today, but let's see how far we got with the Battletech. I really want to try to crank out those Battletech dudes. And, you know, this guy just seems like a lot of work, because even though it's easy to do, it's just a lot of area to cover. So it ends up being, you know, we're taking up time, sweet time. What are we at? 45 minutes right now. And we've got 8 Battletech miniatures, 2-tone primed, and this guy, 2-toned. So we're doing good, I think. We're getting there. And again, if this gets, like sometimes it might look like, oh no, I put too much on. But again, when I put color on this, it's going to definitely reduce its intensity. So it's not so bad to get it a little bit brighter than normal. But this is why I love dry brushing, because it's definitely not, it's controllable. You control where the highlights go. With washes get very dirty because you're just slopping washes on top, and then you just have to highlight on top of the washes. It just gets to be too, I just feel I don't control it as much as I do with dry brushing. And dry brushing looks cooler too. You get this really cool textured look when you dry brush. Or at least when I do it this way, in this circular motion. Kind of. Doing it this way. But again, Crickstar, if we get the mechs done, I assume, I mean, this is really just going to be 2 colors of green, and this guy should be kind of done. So we might be able to get him done tonight, which would be cool. See, I did a little too much there. That's okay. Just blend it around and it'll come. All right, cool. I think that's good enough for now. We'll come back to that big guy later. First, we got some mechs to take care of. All right, now it's time to talk about color and metallic paints, because we are all about metal. It's heavy metal time. Just trying off these brushes. Probably don't need them anymore tonight, but not have them. Crap. Just hanging out wet in the thing because I need my water for real brushes. All right. We got some cool. I got some cool metallic paints that I got when I was in Chicago. I think Jerry might have given these to me, but basically, Runefang Steel is going to be our go-to metallic paint. This stuff looks great on everything. There's also a darker version called Iron Breaker we might try. But the cool part is there's also a couple of colored paints. We got a bronze that looks kind of red and a granite steel which looks kind of blue. So we might use these for some highlights. We'll see how that goes. All right. So now we are in the realm of contrast paints. That's what we use for colors, because we're definitely going to, you know what, I'm going to start with this guy right here. This is our good old Battle Master. And you can see that he is mostly blue with a gold canopy. That's what it looks like. So we are going to grab a brush like so. These brushes get, whenever you're putting contrast paints on, the contrast paints really ruin your brushes because they have like a stickiness to them that gets sticky in the bristles. And technically when you use contrast paints, you're only supposed to put the contrast on the tippy top bristles and then they won't get sticky, but for me I don't care. But at the end of the day, I just want something big enough to get coverage on this thing. So this is a pretty big enough thing that I can put a blue on here and it's gonna be okay. All right, so what kind of blue is this? Well, Normally, the only blue that I had in my disposal was this blue called Talisar blue, but you can see it's a really deep, dark blue. But I got this new one that is sort of my new favorite now called Frost Heart. This is a brand new contrast paint that just came out recently. And, this might be a little too blue, but we can always put some darker blue in it if it's too light, but we're going to see. So what we're going to do is basically cover the whole mech in blue up to the knees, right? Because that's what he's got, up to the knees. Jerry says, can you try using a colored metallic as the main paint for one of the mechs? Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the colored metallic as a dry brush on top of one of these, because you'll find when you put colored metallics, they're really dark. And so you want to be careful just applying metallics to blacker surfaces. They're just going to get really dark. But we have this gray night steel that we'll try putting on top of this, so we'll see what happens. All right, so here we go. Grab just good to have some kind of a napkin. All right, here we go. And so the deal with contrast paints is that they are really kind of like washes. They're kind of watered down paints that you want to that'll paint right over. And what'll happen is whatever is underneath, whatever shadows and should be preserved as long as the paint is not too dark. And that's what's great about these, right? You can just put it right on. All right. If you put it now here, and normally contrast paints, you want to put it on heavy because the paint itself will go into the recesses and form the shadows. But since we made our own shadows, we really just want to do it super lightly so we can get a blue color on top of the shadows and highlights we've already created. Right, so this guy's pretty much, but you can already see how just even this color is pretty light color, but it really mutes the, like you can see how light this is and how maybe not so light this is. So the color is going to bring it down like in photography terms, like an f-stop. Right. All right, and this guy, does he have a hand? He does have a hand. So this will do this, but that's as far as it goes because the rest of this is gun. Cool. Now what I'm trying to do is avoid painting on these little guns. So I only just want to paint the panels. Because little guns are all going to be silver because guns are silver. Because that is what it says. Yep, I like this blue. It's a little more turquoisey than the picture, but let's see what happens when we put some of that metal on. All right, and then what do we got down here? It looks like, yeah, it looks like just the foot is not blue, so we can do everything else blue here. And this is where you might ask, well, why didn't I just paint the thing blue and put a shade on it? But for me, I think once this dries, you'll see that the effect is cooler because you get a lot more, I don't know, you get a lot more character in the lighting. That's just me though. I mean, it's just your own personal preference. You could end up doing it all one color and then putting a shade on it. But you know, you can there's like there's dark in the recesses and grays in the non-recesses, and I think it just looks cooler. Or there's a lot more complexity you have when you do it this way. All right. Yes, 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 right? Cool. So that's the blue. So then what we're going to do is here's my trick for metal, is that we're going to use Basilicum Gray contrast paint. This is a really great foundation for pretty much any metal paint. And we're just going to put this on the gun like so. And it just, what this does is it mutes the highlight just a little bit, but makes room for it because the silver paint is basically going to be a highlight. So you definitely want to have a place for the silver. If I put a silver paint on top of a white paint, you're not going to see the silver. It's not going to look like silver. It's going to look like white, like shiny white, and you don't want that really. So what we're doing is kind of mapping out places that we want the silver dry brush, which is going to definitely be our guns. All right. And this cockpit is actually gold, but there's two bands of should have put blue, so we can go back to the blue real quick. Oh, let me get a little bit of a smaller brush. All right, cool. All right, anytime we're going to put metal paint on top of a paint, we want to wait for this to dry a little bit. So you can kind of see how it's still a little bit wet there. We're going to wait a little bit for this to dry, but I do want to put something on. Whenever I do gold, I noticed it's a neat idea to use agarose dunes as a base. Why it is cool is because it's a nice gold shadow color, but also the gold paint will adhere to it pretty well. Because ultimately we're just going to paint this gold, but if I do it this way, then I can dry brush it a little bit easier. All right, so you can see it's like a gold, but it's a dark gold. Yeah, but once we get the gold metallic paint, it's gonna pop. All right, and you can see, I mean, that's pretty much it. We're just gonna put silver paint on the black areas. We're gonna try to put blue paint on the blue areas, and then we're going to put gold paint on the cockpit. So let's go ahead and grab some silver. We're ready to start. I have a smaller bottle of this Rune Fang Steel. Rune Fang Steel is my go-to silver. what I like to do is I like to take some crazy brush that looks like somebody killed it. Because this will happen when you use contrast paints on brushes. It'll ruin the brush, but this brush is not yet ruined because it still is a great dry brush. So basically I can put some silver on this thing and dry brush it. And then basically that's going to go on these gun parts to make them look like metal. When you do it like this, it kind of looks weathered. If you just painted this whole thing, see what normally people will do is they'll paint the whole thing silver and then again put a wash on top. And I just can't. I can't. Gotta get those lasers. Cool. And then we'll just get his little feet. All right, cool. Everybody doing good? All right, can you see that's basically metal now, right? Some of the things, like what I would normally do on this is like pick out some pieces between the panels that might be metal. Like this looks like some kind of grate. Maybe this grate can be metal. Right, maybe these things are metal-ish. Maybe something. But now, normally I would do that, but since we have this blue metal we're going to try, let's see what might happen. Hey, Mrs. Star Trek is here. Getting ready to eat a fantasy burger. What is that? I don't even know. All right, here we go, people. We are going to bust out, for the first time ever, Gray Knight's Steel. I have no idea what this is like. You can end up ruining the whole model, for all I know, because pretty much this thing's done. But we just want to give it a little hint of metal, right? Oh, wow, I didn't shake it very well. It's a big bottle. All right. Let's see if that works. It's a little better. All right, so we'll just start on these edges and see if it helps metallicize it. Yeah, it does add a little something. It may be hard to see in the camera. It is still more metallic than blue, I think. But it definitely makes it look makes it look more metallic, that's for sure. Jerry says, my plan will be to experiment on the back and copy the idea of the front if it looks good. Well, you would think that would work, but unfortunately, when we do these models, you're going to want to do it all at once. So just my advice to you is just do it. If you have to go back to it, it's going to take you 10 years to figure stuff out. All right, cool. This guy's done except for his canopies, so let's get his gold. This is what we use for gold. Auric Armor Gold. Because this thing is as gold gets, right? Normally I would do these canopies with like a bluish, but I guess since he's already a blue mech, then this gold is a good contrast to blue. So what I do is I kind of go for each panel, window panel, I'll put gold all around. This is kind of like a layer paint, so you can put it in layers, but yeah, in this case, it's going to look better if it's just all gold. All right, cool. You could pick out some like gold highlights and stuff if you wanted to, but yeah, we're just speed painting, so. All right, the other thing is, there is this like white and red stripes on this thing, but I'm not going to bother with that because, we're trying to get it done. This is good enough for stomping around the hood. Professor Star Trek says you're going to make them look like they took damage. No, that's the advanced class. There are some tricks to doing that, but I'm not in the mood. All right, final thing is when we dry brush these things, the base has kind of got some of the dry brush, so I just put a black, just a straight up black, the same base black that we used, Abaddon black that we used to prime them, to clean up the base. I find that a really crappy painted mini on a really clean base makes it still look professional. I don't know why, but clean bases are something really cool to strive for. All right, cool. So we've primed them all, and we got this Battlemaster done in 1 hour, 9 minutes. Just to give you an idea. Let's try one more. And I think I like the catapult. This is a classic Battletech mini. And yep, so it's hard to tell in the picture, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to use a green on this. My go-to army green is a contrast paint called Creed Camo. You can't read it, but it's called Creed Camo. It's basically like a camouflage color, which is pretty much this. It's a dark green, but it's not so dark that it kills everything. And we're going to cover this whole model in this green color except for the nose and the knees. The nose and the knees are going to be a different color green. All right, so let's do it. And anywhere I see a gun, I'm going to try to leave those areas because we're going to use our gray on those and turn them silver at the end. What glove are you talking about, Jerry? Are you talking about the gloves I'm wearing? Or the mini has a glove, or what? If you mean the gloves I'm wearing, they are called nitrile. Oh, I have them right here. They're called black nitrile powder-free exam gloves. Grip Protect Precise. I get the XL because I got big hands. All right. Remember, no knees, just the feet. You can see once you get the two-tone priming down, the contrast paint is literally just slapping on paint. Like there's no artistry to it. You don't have to be some master. Just get the color on and you're gonna have the shadows preserved. All right. We're getting there. Piece of cake. Nose and knees preserved. Yep, these are all going to be gray, except for the tops, of course. So let's do that. Let's do that. Piece of cake. It's too bad we don't have a green metal, but that's cool. All right, so next thing, let's just do the other green. So for my other green, I have this, another brand new contrast paint that I just got called Carandrous Green. I actually like this one better than my orc green. That's normally what we do. Let's put that on there. That's my other thing with this two-tone priming method that I do is that, things end up being dark. So the lighter contrast paints I can find really end up working super well with this because it definitely, you don't have to worry about the color getting darkened if the color is already super light. All right, now we're going to do gray, our basilicum gray, because we know that this is going to be silver. Anything that we're going to do silver, we're going to do basilicum gray first. So that's how it works. So yeah, this is some silver guns here. Some silver again, the beauty about this with using the contrast is that I really don't have to stay in the lines or anything. You kind of just, you literally can slap it on because the crevices are almost black, so it really makes like lines that you can they'll fall into place. I can just paint over it and you're not going to see any difference. All right, cool. That's that. Let's go back to our gold, and we're going to do this one as a gold canopy also. I'm not even going to bother with the aggro dunes anymore because we're just going to paint these things straight up. You might notice a trick I learned is you want to brace yourself. So I'll put my pinky on the model so I can keep the brush straight. Because this is definitely a detail work. I just want to make sure we got. All right, cool. That's that guy. Let's do some silver. We'll go back to our Runefang steel. All right. Normally I would just kind of dry brush over this thing, but I kind of want to, well, yeah, let's just do that. This gray is not exactly dry yet, but one thing I guess I should do is maybe instead of, I'm just going to do dots. It's not really dry yet, so I'm just trying to rush it. It's not working. Right at this point, I just get lazy and just dry brush some silver on a bunch of different places, and it'll look cool. Because the cool part about this Runefang steel also is it's also a highlight. So like I can just put it as a dry brush anywhere, and it's gonna look more like a highlight than silver. That's how you get it to look kind of metal. And again, anytime I dry brush, I just do this circular motion. And that just puts a silver over the whole thing. All right, I think that guy's done. But it's not done until you do the final step, which is clean that base. Come on now, no room for dirty bases here. Let's get it going. You know, I went a little heavy-handed on the metal, but it's cool if you want that super metallic look. Some of these mechs, though, are not going to need to be so metallic. You never know. All right, that's 2 down. 6 to go. Who do we want to do next? I would say this guy, but he's white, and screw white. That's what I got to say. This locust guy looks like a similar deal. It's not green, but it's definitely more of a... This guy's sort of a silver all around. With a gold cockpit again. So I'm just going to do this guy. It's totally silver. I'll show you how to do it. Oops. This is my gray. So again, we're going to go to our Basilicum Gray. Thanks again for watching, everybody. This is definitely helps me get over my wisdom tooth problem. I haven't even felt any pain since I've been hanging out with you guys. All right, so we're just going to put this Basilicum Gray all over this guy. Bingo blango. You're a battle mech, Harry. All right, cool. All right, so because the idea is we're going to make this guy all silver, and then I'm going to put a color on top of the silver and see how that goes. So the thing with this is I kind of heavy-handed this contrast paint, so we need to let this guy dry for a little bit. So we're going to put him in a, I call it the silvering weight pile. You gotta wait for that one. All right, this guy looks pretty cool. This is the Thunderbolt. Oh, another fucking white. Whoever thought up this white paint bullshit is a bunch of bullshit. With some purple stripes. That will. Okay, I think I'm going to do the same thing with this. What we're going to do is we're going to gray this whole thing. We're going to silver the whole thing, and then I'm going to put white on top and show you how that looks. We'll see how that goes. So this is another one that's going to be waiting for gray to dry. All right, so just put gray contrast paint on top of all of this guy. And I know you're like, why did you do all this highlighting if you're just going to gray it out? Well, it's hard to tell now because it's wet, but actually when this thing dries, it looks much cooler than if you just, because the highlights are there. It's just when the gray goes on wet, it looks like it dulls out all the highlights, but no, they're still there. We just want it to be a little bit darker so the silver paint will take the highlight, will become the highlights. So the silver is really going to be over on top of this thing. So everywhere there's white now, imagine that there's going to be silver. All right. He's ready for his silver weight cube. All right, while he's going, what's this guy got going on? I think this guy is going to be the same bit as our other one. It's that green, so we can just make this guy all green. I dig it. it's going to look just like this one. But we're not going to put so much silver on it this time because this one is a muted color for sure. So let's grab our camo. Yeah, I love these solid color ones because they just go right on. All we have to do is slather the thing with this color, and we're gonna put a gold pot on it, and we should be good. And the cool part too is that green's complementary color is gold. So when we put the gold canopy, we can put some gold in some other places, and it'll look cool. Now, some tutorials actually do, like, there's little hazard markers and stuff on the back of them, and we can do that, but that'll be in the future, I think. Right now, I'm just getting these, showing you guys how to just paint these things so you can get them to the table as fast as you can. But there's a lot of, once you get these base colors down, you can add lots of little accoutrements to them, no problem. Again, I'm leaving the gun not green because that's going to be gray. To take the silvering. The silvering. All right, cool. I love it when a plan comes together. All right, this guy's easy peasy. That says green. Let's get some gray. Then he'll be ready for silvering also. Let us gray. Shake it up. Gray. And I put some green there. All right, cool. He's in the silver queue with the rest of them. Oh, you know what, though? He's ready for his gold canopy. That's an easy one. Might as well just print that out. Gold canopy. Done and done. Any other gold accoutrements we can think about? Oh, looks like he... according to the picture, there's not, but you could totally, to give this guy a little bit more of a metal look, like some of these things can have like a gold highlight. Gives it a little bit more metal look to it. It's almost like a highlight. That turns plain green into metal looking, but you know, it's the gold is a good complementary color to the green. So if I just try to put green metallic paint on this, which I don't actually have, it would look too green. Now we kind of got a two-tone thing going on there. You gotta got a little overboard with it, but it still looks cool. All right, you are now in the silvering. Yeah. Sometimes what I'll do is, like, you can see I messed this up, so I'll just take an X-Acto knife and you can kind of scrape the gold off so it doesn't, or at least make it so it's not overboard. All right, cool. You are to be silvered. All right. Well, we still have 5 people watching, so I haven't bored anybody yet. All right, let's see. Shadowhawk. Ooh, looks like a combination of gray and green. So it looks like just green shoulders and green knee pads and green sides. So let's go back to our camo. Creed camo. Oh, you want to try the red paint? That's going to be the Griffin. The Griffin has some red in there. We're going to do some Griffin red. All right, so first things first, we've got green spalders. Can I say spalders? Shoulders? Whatever you want to call it. Green shoulders. Very cool. Then we got, looks like a green cockpit. And it looks like green side panels. Hip panels? Is that what you would call it? Hip panels. And then there's green feet. This is green and this is green. All right, and the center panel is green too. All right, cool. And then the rest of this is just a little bit of a gray. That's the one complaint I have about the contrast paints there. I really would like a more of a gray that is kind of concrete colored instead of just straight up gray, but you know, it all works. All right, we've got a big batch of silvering that's going to come and pop all these guys. That'll be cool. All right, so you can see I'm even taking too much time on these. Like, what are we at, an hour and 35? Hour 35, and I've got almost all of them painted. So don't ever let anyone tell you you can't paint a whole Battletech starter box in a day, because that's what we did. All right, cool. He's ready for the silvering. So this guy, yes. So this is our Griffin. Even though it doesn't look anything like the picture, we're still going to paint it this way. So yeah, sorry, I'm just let me just make sure I'm not like missing a car or something. Right, because the rest of these are the pilots. Yeah, that's that. They just made a. Maybe they gave me the wrong model. I don't know. This model definitely does not match this card, but this is the process of elimination. This is the only one it can be. So anyway, I'm not worried about it. Let's camo this bitch. So Jerry, what makes a contrast paint is that there are. So in the Citadel line of paints, they basically range from how thick the paint is to how thin the paint is. So a base paint is the thickest you can get it. It basically will cover anything that you put one coat on it, and it's going to cover everything. That's why we use the Abaddon Black base paint for priming, because it is one shot done. Anything that is underneath that paint you will not see. It will definitely cover it. Then Citadel has a thing called layer paints, which is what these metallic paints are, but also like the gray two-tone priming. The gray I was using for the two-tone is a layer paint. Layer paints are a little bit translucent, or the underlying color will shine through. So it'll take a couple of layers of that paint to build up to really cover things. But so layer paints are great to kind of enhance or highlight what's already there. So typically in the Games Workshop realm, you paint with the base paint. Then you shade, use a thing called a shade, which is basically a super watered down paint that fills in the cracks with shadows. And then you highlight with a layer paint to bring the highlights back. So what a contrast paint is sort of like a shade. It's the lightest, superest light paint. And the paint pools in the cracks to give you instant shadows and highlights in one go, basically, is the idea. So when you normally use contrast paints, you're using them normally on a white primer, and then the contrast paint itself will create the shadows for you. So I like the contrast paints because I use them more like what they call a glaze, where it's like I just want a very transparent or translucent color that I can put on top of the shadows I've already created. That's why I like to use contrast paints on top of our two-tone painting method, because then the highlights are preserved, the shadows are preserved, and really just coloring it. And so if I were to put a layer paint on top of this, the layer paint would cover the cracks, and I don't want that to happen. So that's why I like to use contrast paints for the color. Battletech Total War book, their main rules book, has a section on painting. Oh, I'm sure that section is probably 25 years old, because they didn't have contrast paints 25 years ago. And I think miniature painting in general has this concept of using a lot of shades a lot, or these, it's sort of like contrast paints, but you're dousing the model with a wash of goop to fill in the cracks with darkness so you can get shadows in the cracks. That's pretty much the standard go-to model for people. But now that there's cooler, newer paints out there, you don't need to worry about it. All right, finally, this guy is white. I think I'm going to try the same method with him. I'm going to use a white layer paint on him, but we're going to do him silver first, against my better judgment. If there's one thing I hate painting, it's the color white. The reason why I hate painting the color white is because it never looks good unless you have an incredibly smooth. Because the minute you have a white that has imperfections, guess what? It's gray. And the minute you have a white that's perfect, it's just too white. And so you need this balance between making sure that your white goes on smooth as butter, and it's just too much of a pain in the ass. So I really hate painting white. But I can fake it, I suppose. All right, cool. So let's recap. We're an hour and 43 minutes in. We have fully painted this guy. We fully painted this guy. Whoa. And we've got a bunch of guys ready for the silvering. So we're going to get our Runefang steel out again. I'm going to get a crazy brush I don't really care about. We're going to do some dry brushing. So we got this guy. He just needs some silver on his gun. We need some silver in this area. We need some silver on this area. Maybe some silver in his joints. Cool, I think he's done. Well, not exactly, because we need to fix his base. Cool. Well, if that miniature painting book was in the last few years, it probably follows the Games Workshop standard model of painting, which is very much paint all of the base colors first, then shade, put a wash over the whole thing, and then paint your midtones on top as a highlight, and then paint your highlights on top of that. That's the standard Games Workshop way of doing it. I really don't like how those come out, so I don't do it that way. All right, here we go. What are we talking about? All right, this guy is our first guy that's going to be white. So first we want it to get silver all over this. So I don't care. Yeah, we want the whole thing to be sort of silver. So we're just gonna kind of dry brush in. So if you do too much, then it'll just look like a glop of silver. If you do just enough, it looks kind of weathered. You want to have this weathered kind of look, which means that it's going to be splotches of silver and splotches of black left over from your undercoat. All right, cool. So this is your normal, just straight up silver mech. I painted in black, I gray, did the two-tone, then we contrast gray, and then we just dry brush silver on top. That's what, this is what your Terminator would look like if you're painting a Terminator, right? We're going to put white color on top of this, but in a minute. All right, oh, this guy's still wet. You don't want to take it. Yeah. Same thing with this guy. Yeah, my two-tone method is really just a play on what they call zenithal priming. But a lot of people do that zenithal priming with airbrushes or with spray cans. I just realized when I started doing this dry brushing that I could get the same effect from just dry brushing, and then also I realized while zenithal looks cool for dark kind of monster, really the highlights should be all over, because at the end of the day we don't view these models from one direction, we view them from all directions, so we want to be able to see equal amounts of highlight and shadow. So I just decided to do it that way, and it ended up working out great. All right, the silvering has begun. Yeah, I wish I could patent it, Jerry, but it really is just two-tone priming. I mean, it's not anything patentable, I think. I think the trick is how can you use it with contrast paints. That's probably the best, because I think what I see most is people will zenithal prime, and then they'll do the same old method of glopping paint on and then shading it again and then highlighting it again. And it's like, why are you doing double the work? I don't get it. So you don't want to have to work too much at it. All right, cool. Boom, 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 boom. All right, so we got a whole bunch of Terminators now, because most of these guys are going to get white paint on them. So that's true, Jerry. I just have to patent it and then sue everybody else if they use it. All right, we're close, people. We're close. Here's a gun, 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 gun. Gun, 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 gun. Gun, 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 gun. I just put a little silver as highlights to reiterate to our mind's eye that these things are made of steel. It's not green. It's not green rubber. That's green steel. All right, cool. This is the guy. This is our Griffin. So you want to see what that red paint looks like? We're gonna do some red stripes on this, even though this picture does not match this model at all. I'm still cool putting some red on it. So, Crickstar, Oh no, Red Hood. When can we expect to see this played? Well, I'm going to have to teach it to Diana. It shouldn't be so bad because it's just a 2-player. We can do it as a 2-player skirmish campaign. But there's a lot of rules to the Battletech, so I've got to get it. Once I get it down, I can kind of walk her through it. It should be pretty easy. So probably in the next week or two. All right, here we go. Castellax Bronze. It's not really a red metallic, but it's reddish. Let's see what we want to do. Maybe we'll put it like straight on the panel. Yeah, this is more bronze than red. It definitely looks cool, though. It looks cool for the ends of these guns. Right. All right, one last thing for this guy. Let's give him a yellow canopy because I guess this starter set loves yellow canopies for some reason. Yeah, good luck on your interview, Red Hood. That sounds awesome. Let's see what we got. It's really deep in there. You can barely see it. Cool. That's another mech down. Clean up that base. I like to clean these bases as soon as I can. So, just one more thing you got to do later. You don't have to do. All right, cool. All right. Oh yeah, and I guess this guy is pretty much done too. I just got in his base. The beauty of these, you can always go back and like add insignias and stuff for little details, but really to get them to the table, you just need to make sure that you can see them and their guns. Guns, guns, guns. All right. What's the deal with this one? All right, so this one, I'm going to show you. This is a interesting. This is normally how I paint aliens. I'll put a silver base, and then I'll go ahead and put the color on top. So in this case, we're going to put a green on top of the silver, just really lightly. I mean, it's barely even going to be there. but it'll look more than just silver. So this is another way to make a colored silver without metallic paints. Well, I mean, you use silver metallic, but the metal will show through underneath. It's really cool. So ends up being a little bit dark, but I typically try not to do it this way if I can, because you want just enough color that the metal will show through. But if you put too little color, then it's like, what the hell is this thing? So yeah, I'd say that's fine. That's that. Since they love their golden canopies, we're going to give this guy a golden canopy. What are we looking like? We're looking like this one. This one. And there's two on the side. Doosh. Cool and cool. You know, I might use this bronze a little bit more than normal, because it, if you do it in a certain way, it kind of looks like rust. You can also make these little banded effects, which are nice. You see, we're just screwing around. That looks cool. Give me a black base, and that bad boy is done. Black base me. So there you go. We're at exactly 2 hours. And I've got 6 of the 8 figures completely painted. All right. All right. So now we got these two crazy critters, and they are both in white paint. If there was a hell and Tom had a nemesis, that nemesis would be made of white paint. Well, that's cool. I think we can do this. So I'm going to use this is my go-to white paint. It's a layer paint. It's called White Scar. It's the whitest of the white paint. Now this stuff is not a contrast paint. It's really going to go on thick, so we want to be really careful about it. And we're going to start with just call him Little Dickhead. All right, and we are going to get some of this white paint. And let's see what we can do. Let's start with his little chest plate. We're just gonna throw it on there. So what I'm trying to do is just paint the plates and not really get in the crevices if I can help it. And then we're just gonna kind of dry brush it on. Pray to God. Oops. So you can see what happens is I'm just dry brushing it on, but it always looks, I don't know, not as smooth as you want it to be. I'm sure there's some technique to paint white good, and I think maybe it's just that I'm lazy and I don't want to just paint every individual panel. Because the trick is you still want some of this silver to shine through underneath. But when you're doing a light layer paint like this, it's going to cover a lot. So you want to see, like that hand already is too much. I really need to do it more like a dry brush. It's just a pain in my ass. All right, and these legs. All right, I guess the trouble I always have is really less is more. And I just need to put a little bit on, but I end up wanting it to be more white, and then I end up putting more white on, and then it just ends up looking like a cake mess. But these legs are really where you want to be. This guy's also got gold. Looks like gold here. Golden arms. All right. It's not totally horrible, but it's not the best. Yeah, I think I'm going to end up showing you guys what a wash looks like. Because again, when you screw up things, there's nothing that really can be screwed up so bad that a wash can't fix. All right, well, you can't say that it doesn't not look like it. All right, let me just do one last thing, and that's He's got like glowing red eyes instead of a gold canopy like everybody else. He's got some little eyes. So it's white in the eyes there. All right, while that's drying, let's put some white on this guy. This guy's the same fucking thing, so I'm just gonna. You know what I'm gonna try to do? I'm gonna try to use a bigger dry brush. I'm gonna use this big dry brush. And we're just gonna dry brush it. Because hopefully that'll make it a smoother implementation. Yeah, the sky is all over. So. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to make it look like, we have this metal robot and we just painted it white. What does a metal robot that's painted white look like? That's what you're trying to do. Yeah, definitely a bigger brush helps because then it makes it a smoother white implementation instead of trying to paint it on. Yeah, it ends up just being a big highlight, but that's cool. There's still some silver showing underneath. I definitely like this one better. All right, that's to start. Then stuff like this guy. Bit of a rim job. That's right, I said rim job. All right. Now I'm just picking out some highlights. All right, cool. Should have done that with this jerk. Oh, he doesn't look so bad. All right, here we go. We're in the final legs of it. First is, that's all the white I'm going to do. Screw you, white. We're using some red contrast paint. And that brush is too big. Actually, it's not so bad. Red contrast paint. Who's in the red eyes? Ooh. By your command. Red eyes makes everyone look better. All right. And then finally, this guy's got a bunch of purple stripes. Do we want to get crazy? Do we want to get crazy? Well, I have a brand new contrast paint called Luxion Purple. And I think definitely want to put some purple accents on here. So first things first, I think this ends up being purplish. I might have screwed that up. this is purple. I gotcha. And this is purple. Cool. And then this gun is purple. So that's purple. I can dig it. All right, so we've got a purple line going right down the middle. And we got a purple line going down this side. Let's see, this is purple. This. We knew we'd be doing some freehand painting at the end of the night. And if there's one on that side, then there's got to be one on this side, right? I think that's. Well, I think these might be purple too. Let's just purple this up. This is the lily pads. So you could probably go a little bit more, but I don't really care. Right, because it makes sense if it's purple line this way, then there should be purple lines this way, right? Just to continue the purple streak. Maybe this. Maybe this whole panel is purple. Definitely, these things are purple. Cool, and then I think that'll do it for us. All right, cockpit wise, this is white, so there's nothing else to change there. So I think we're done. One last thing, I guess, since I love this bronze, I can pick out some areas on both these models. models to get some bronzing happening, maybe. What I'm doing here is just because this white is a little too white, so I'm just trying to break it up. I'm just doing a little dry brush to make it not so white, but it is what it is. I think that's as good as that gets for a 2-hour paint. All right, let's clean up these bases. Oops. Let's put some black, cover these feet. All right, and that, as they say, is that. So, just to recap, it is now 2 hours and 20 minutes, and we, ladies and gentlemen, are done. We've got our Thunderbolt. We've got our Com3A Commando. Where are the other cards? So yeah, we've got our Locust. We've got our, our Griffin. That doesn't look anything, the model doesn't look anything like the picture, but he's coming in hot. We've got the Shadow Hawk, which is this guy for sure. Oh, he does have some little chest emblem. I might want to put a chest emblem on him. But other than that, I think he's cool. We've got the Wolverine. Wolverines. We've got the Catapult. And finally, we've got the Battlemaster, which I think is the coolest of them all. The blue color came out really cool. It's more of a turquoise, but I like the lighter colors, and gold cockpit. I just like the shape of this one a lot better. That's it. That's 8 figures. 8 figures in 2 hours and 20 minutes. Yes, everybody, you can do it too. It's very easy. And next time we will tackle this big guy. He's ready for color, I think. We just got to put some color on this guy. So this will be fun to do. Other than that, thanks everybody. I think that's it for me. And yeah, thanks for hanging out. We will, let me see if I can get a final view on this guy. There it is. These were black blobs not even 2 hours ago. And now they're fully painted mechs. So hopefully that gives you guys some inspiration and some easy ways to crank these things out. And always don't take too much time. If you're thinking, you're not painting, and you got to paint and get it out. So hopefully that works for you guys. And yeah, next week I'll do the Cthulhu for sure because I want to get this guy to the table. But thanks again for hanging out with me and helping me not think about my horrible wisdom teeth. I'm sure I'm going to think about it tonight when I sleep. But right now, I didn't feel it at all because I was painting with you guys. So thanks again, guys. Hope everyone has a great weekend, and we'll see you this week. Back to the normal She Hates Games schedule. All right. Do I have an outro? I do have an outro on this, so I'm going to roll it. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Talk to you later.